Hey, good morning, beautiful people. Dominique here, and today I'm going to show you how I changed all spark plugs and ignition coils on a 2008 Ford Escape XLT. Tools needed: ratchet and extension, 8mm socket, flathead screwdriver, 10mm socket, 10mm deep socket possibly, pliers, 10mm wrench, and a 5/8 spark plug socket, magnet recommended. All right, so the code I pulled was P0305. Misfire in cylinder 5, an engine misfire in cylinder 5. So after doing a little research, I suspect that it could be a bad spark plug or a bad ignition coil or a bad injector. So I'm going to start with changing the spark plugs and the ignition coil. I'm going to check it out while I'm up there. All right, let's get to it. Disconnect the negative terminal from the battery using the 8mm socket. Pull the throttle cover, and you're going to need an 8mm socket. All right, next you're going to need to remove this breather hose. I just stuck a flathead screwdriver over here, and it came right up. All right, now you want to disconnect the mass airflow sensor. So I'm using a flathead screwdriver. I'm going to gently pull it up. Once the red tab is up, you can go ahead and wiggle it out. Remove the plastic clip holding the wiring harness. All right, had to give it a good pounding, but it came out. All right, so if you want to go ahead and just blow some of this dust off the engine, now would be a perfect time for it. With a flathead screwdriver, unloosen both clamps on both ends of the intake hose. Next, you want to pop these two clamps that's holding the air filter. Sorry, I actually needed two hands to pull up on this box for the air filter. And once you loosen it, it'll come off one side of the hose. And you're just left with this, and you just pull this side, and it'll come right out. All right, so next I'm gonna unplug the throttle position sensor. There's a tab on the right side right here. You just squeeze it, wiggle it out. All right, so next you wanna remove this cruise control cable. Okay, so you raise this one, raise it up, and this turns. You turn and you pull it out. Mine's is a little stubborn, so you just pull forward and it'll come off. Just pull forward and it'll come off. All right, so lift back up on this, and you're gonna wanna unwrap the cable. All right, so once you unwrap the cable, you could go ahead and pull it out. Now, it's kind of difficult for me to record and work with two hands, so just bear with me, please. So now I'm gonna get my 8mm socket and remove the screws. That way I can get both of these cables out of the way and we get to the fun part. And you're gonna take an 8mm socket and remove this screw also. Please remove the screws. You don't want them to fall down or get in the way. Then you just take your cables and just lay it somewhere out of the way. All right, so you want to look to the back of the manifold and remove this harness right here. All right, so you got a plastic tab right here. You let this tab down and then you unplug it. I thought it was going to be difficult. It's a tab right here. You just let down and unplug the harness behind the manifold. Now you got to remove the intake manifold temperature sensor cable. All right, so take your flathead, press down on this tab, and take your other hand and remove it. Now there's a plastic clip right here holding it in there. You're gonna remove that too. All right, so you just keep prying on all sides, like all around there, to get it out. All right, so now I can just go ahead and wiggle it out and move it out the way. Now you're gonna need a 10mm socket with an extension to remove the throttle body. There's 4 bolts, by the way. All right, so there's another plastic piece you have to remove to the throttle sensor. Remember, pry it all the way around until it loosens up and then pull it out. All right, so once you remove that plastic piece, it's gonna reveal the 4th and final screw for the throttle body, and you're gonna need a 10mm deep socket. This is why you needed a deep socket. The screw is pretty long. All right, once it's removed, stuff the inside with a towel to keep debris out, or wrap it with a bag, or just do something to keep the debris up out of there. All right, now I got to remove this EGR valve assembly, and you're going to need a 10mm socket. All right, on the screw number 2. There's only 2 screws. All right, you're going to need a set of pliers to remove this hose. Just pull the clamp back, then ease the hose up out of there. Now that the clamp back, gonna go ahead and ease the hose up out of there. I had to use a flathead screwdriver to get it up off there. It's a little stubborn. All right, so the second hose back here has a green plastic clip that you gotta pull the tab on the side right here. You pull that down and then you just pull on it or push it back with a flathead screwdriver. All right, so that hose is very stubborn. So like I said, you pull down on this tab and then you take your other hand and you wiggle this hose from the back left and right and pull on it and it'll come out. And there's another hose back here. Oh, let me get this out the way so you can see it. You just pull the 3rd hose out. That's simple. Now you have to remove the EGR mod sensor cable. Just press down on the tab with a flathead screwdriver and disconnect. Now you can remove the EGR mod. Mine's had 2 10mm bolts, and you're gonna need the deep socket again. Turns out this is the type of wrench that I had to use to remove that screw. So I already done started removing it. All right, now that she's out the way, it's just gonna dangle. All right, so now you need your 8mm socket and extension. Gonna remove this cover now. And here's the fun part. Now that all 8 bolts are removed, you can go ahead and lift up on it. But you're gonna need 2 hands, and I'm recording with one. But you can see that it's ready to come up. Here's the fun part. And if you look in the back right here, you'll see your coils, and below the coils, you'll have the spark plugs. And that's what's causing the code on the check engine light. Right. So I laid this baby to the side. And what I'm gonna do is put a towel right here to cover this up so nothing won't get inside the engine. Coils. Alright, so if you want to change these gaskets, this would be the best time to do it now. Alright, it's time to remove the coils, the ignition coils. Gonna need an 8mm socket with an extension. Alright, so I'm gonna take all the screws out. I already got one, and then I'll unplug them all. Alright, so let's go to the back now. So now you gotta press down on the tab and unplug the coil. Little tab right here on top. And it's unplugged. And if you look down below, you'll see the spark plug inside of there. There you go. Good view. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and unplug them all. Gotta get to the back now. Same thing. Press on the tab and it'll come right out. Alright, now that they all unplugged, just remove the coils. Remove the ignition coil. And this is the one that's supposed to have been bad. And remove the final coil. So I went out and brought me a magnetized 5/8 spark plug socket, because without it, you're gonna be putting up a fight. Alright, so I had to use an extension. I had to put a pipe on my ratchet, it's a little too tight. Or you can use rust penetrator WD-40. Whatever works for you. To each his own. Alright. So it definitely was time for some spark plugs. Look at that tip. And now we're around to the back. All right, and finally the last spark plug. And all you gotta do is just slide it up in there. And that's it, spark plug come up with it. All right, now that I got the final spark plug out, let's start putting fresh ones in. All right, when it's time to replace the spark plugs, you just put grease around a thread only. And another thing, make sure your spark plugs are pre-gapped. If they're not, then you just gonna have to buy a gapper and look at your owner manual and gap it yourself, but I recommend getting it pre-gapped. It's much easier. Gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, it's time to go straight to the back. All right, now it's time to break out the fresh ignition coils. Just slide it right into the hole, onto the spark plug. Line it up, put your screw in, hand tighten the screw. And plug it up. All right, go back and get your 8mm socket. Tighten it up. Just tighten the coils up. Don't over tighten it. You don't want to crack it. Now that the front is done, it's time to go to the back. So I already placed all the coils. And now I'm just tightening it up. Then I'm going to plug it up. And that'll be done. Like I said, as long as your spark plugs are pre-gapped and you tighten up the coils and don't forget to plug it up, you should be fine. Spark plugs and ignition coils are installed. Everything is plugged up and ready to go. Now it's time to reverse the process. All right, now it's time to put the cover back on. But before you do, check for any oil spills, grime, or anything, and yeah, just clean it up before you put it back on. And you just evenly put this on and put the screws back on, hand tighten it, then tighten it up with a ratchet. All right, so the screws in between here, obviously I couldn't hand tighten them. But the ones in the front and on the side, I can hand tighten it. And I'm just gonna go over everything with my 8mm socket and ratchet and tighten it up. Another thing, please do not over tighten. You do not want to crack anything. Please do not over tighten. All right, you want to start back putting the hoses back on. Get your pair of pliers and you want to grip the hose clamp and just slide it up. All right, sorry, I had to use 2 hands for it. It's nice and tight. And there's a hose that go on the bottom that you just simply just plug up. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Press it in as far as you can get it. And the last hose in the back with the elbow connection. And you just press that in until you hear a snap. And all the hoses are in, all 3. All right, time to attach the EGR mod and valve. Just hand tighten it, then go over it with your socket or a wrench. Back here, you're definitely going to need your 10mm wrench. Time to put the screws back in for the valve now. The mod is nice and tight. Making sure everything is all nice and tight. Yes, it's tight. You could use either 10mm ratchet or the wrench. I just used the wrench since I was closer to it. So you can plug up the mod and you can plug up the valve. Alright, so hooking back up your throttle body cable and cruise control cable, you just simply lift up on this. While it's lifted, take your throttle cable, slip it through that hole, and bring it on, and then you let it go. And it goes in perfect. Now your cruise control cable, lift it up, slide it right on there. But you have to turn it before you put it in there. Then you're gonna hear a snap. If you don't hear the snap, do it again. And that's how it go on. And just let it go. Once the cords are installed correctly, you could go ahead and install the cover. You would just need an 8mm socket. I almost forgot, if you look in the back on the left, there's a harness. Don't forget to plug that back up. Plastic pieces on the right side, you just press it in and it's on. Alright, remove the plastic or towel or whatever you use and grab your 4 screws. It's time to put the throttle body back on. Just put the screws in like this first, then hand tighten it. Don't immediately tighten one screw with your ratchet because you want to line it up first. And then hand tighten it, then use your ratchet and tighten it. Get your 10mm socket and ratchet. And you just tighten them up. Tighten all 4 bolts. Over here on the bottom right, this is what I use my deep socket for. And that's nice and tight. Install the main intake hose at the throttle body. Then I'm just going to take my flathead screwdriver and tighten it up. Install the cover to the air filter. And this is where your mass airflow sensor is going to be connected. And this is where your breather hose is going to be connected. Once everything is attached and tight, attach the breather hose. Gonna hear a snap like I just did. Attach the mass airflow sensor. How can I forget? Plug up the throttle body sensor. Once every sensor is connected, double check on the holes to make sure they're nice and tight. Once you confirm that everything is tight, go ahead and connect the negative terminal to the battery and tighten it up. So after installing 6 ignition coils and 6 spark plugs, let's give it a start. No check engine light. That's how you change spark plugs and ignition coils on a 2008 Ford Escape. And also, that's how you clear code P0305. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day.